Welcome to Stoic Vivu, where ancient wisdom meets modern life. Today, we're diving into something that might surprise you. We spend so much time talking about what we should do to improve our lives. But what if I told you that what you stop doing might be even more important? The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that all of Stoic philosophy comes down to two simple concepts: persisting and resisting. Persisting means continuing with the good habits and practices that serve us. But resisting, that's where the real transformation happens. That's about identifying and eliminating the behaviors that are secretly sabotaging our happiness, our productivity, and our peace of mind. Think about your daily life for a moment. How many times do you find yourself stressed about things beyond your control? How often do you check your phone before your feet even hit the floor in the morning? When was the last time someone's random criticism sent you spiraling for hours or even days? These aren't just minor annoyances. They're life-draining habits that the ancient Stoics identified thousands of years ago as barriers to living well. Here's what makes this philosophy so powerful. The Stoics weren't monks living in isolation. They were emperors like Marcus Aurelius, dealing with plagues and wars. They were advisors like Seneca, navigating the dangerous politics of Rome. They were former slaves like Epictetus, who transformed suffering into wisdom. These were people facing real challenges, just like you face traffic jams, demanding bosses, social media overwhelm, and endless notifications. The beauty of Stoicism lies not in adding more to your already full plate, but in strategically removing what doesn't serve you. It's about creating space in your life by eliminating the mental and emotional clutter that keeps you from focusing on what truly matters. When you stop doing certain things, you automatically create room for peace, clarity, and purposeful action. In today's video, we're going to explore 8 specific things that Stoics don't do, and more importantly, why you should stop doing them too. These aren't arbitrary rules or restrictions. Each one is based on timeless wisdom that's just as relevant in your downtown apartment or suburban home as it was in ancient Rome. We'll look at why change terrifies us and how to embrace it, why we exhaust ourselves on trivial matters, how to handle criticism without letting it destroy us, and much more. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear roadmap for what to eliminate from your life to make room for what really counts. You'll understand why these behaviors are holding you back, and most importantly, you'll have practical strategies for letting them go. So let's begin this journey of strategic subtraction, of intelligent resistance, and discover how doing less of the wrong things can lead to so much more of the right ones. 1. When change terrifies you, embracing the unknown. You're sitting in your Chicago office and the email arrives. Company restructuring. Your department is being merged with another. Your role? To be determined. Your stomach drops. Your mind races. Everything you've worked for, the stability you've built, the routine you've perfected, all of it suddenly feels like it's crumbling. This fear, this resistance to change, is precisely what the Stoics understood as one of our greatest obstacles to living well. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who faced constant upheaval, wrote something profound in his personal journal, the Meditations. All things are born from change. Think about that for a moment. Every single good thing that has ever happened in your life came from change. Your first job? Change. Meeting your partner? Change. Moving to that apartment with the perfect view of the city skyline? Change. Yet here we are, terrified of the very force that brings all good things into existence. The modern world amplifies this fear exponentially. We live in an era of unprecedented stability compared to ancient Rome, yet we're more anxious about change than ever. We cling to jobs we've outgrown, relationships that no longer serve us, and routines that have become prisons. We refresh our investment accounts obsessively when markets fluctuate. We panic when our favorite coffee shop closes or when social media platforms update their interfaces. We've become so addicted to predictability that even minor disruptions send us into tailspins of anxiety. But here's what Marcus Aurelius understood from governing an empire during plague and war. Change isn't just inevitable. It's the fundamental nature of existence. The seasons change, our bodies change, civilizations rise and fall. Fighting this reality is like trying to stop the tide with your bare hands. It's not just futile, it's exhausting. The Stoic approach to change isn't about becoming passive or indifferent. It's about developing what they called preferred indifference. This doesn't mean you don't care about outcomes. It means you're prepared for any outcome. Marcus Aurelius had a powerful mental exercise for this. When facing tomorrow's uncertainties, he would tell himself, "I will meet it with the same weapons that I meet today." What weapons? Wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. These tools don't depend on circumstances remaining the same. They work regardless of what changes. Consider Sarah, a marketing director in Manhattan. When her company announced they were going fully remote, she initially panicked. Her identity was tied to her corner office, her commute routine, her lunch meetings in Midtown. But then she remembered the Stoic principle of embracing change. Instead of resisting, she asked herself, "What opportunities does this create?" Within 6 months, she had moved to a more affordable city, started a side consulting business with the commute time she saved, and reported feeling happier than she had in years. The change she feared became the catalyst for a life she couldn't have imagined. This is the power of the Stoic mindset regarding change. When you stop fearing it, you start seeing it differently. That merger at work, it might introduce you to new colleagues who become lifelong mentors. That relationship ending, it creates space for personal growth or meeting someone more aligned with who you're becoming. That unexpected move to a new city could be the adventure that reshapes your entire perspective on life. The Stoics had a specific term for this mental flexibility, the discipline of desire. It means training yourself to desire what happens, rather than demanding that things happen as you desire. This isn't about becoming a doormat or lacking ambition. It's about recognizing that your peace of mind shouldn't depend on everything going according to your plan. Because let's be honest, when has everything ever gone according to plan? Marcus Aurelius faced plagues that killed millions, including possibly his own wife. He dealt with rebellious generals, ungrateful citizens, and the constant threat of invasion. Yet in his private writings, we don't find bitterness or fear. We find acceptance and even gratitude. He understood that change, even painful change, carries within it the seeds of growth, wisdom, and new possibilities. In practical terms, this means developing what modern psychologists might call cognitive flexibility. When change appears on your horizon, instead of immediately catastrophizing, pause and ask yourself, what if this works out better than I imagined? Instead of clinging to the familiar, practice small changes voluntarily. Take a different route to work. Try a new restaurant. Rearrange your living room. These minor voluntary changes build your tolerance for the involuntary ones life will inevitably bring. The ultimate Stoic secret about change is this: when you stop fearing it, you stop being controlled by it. You become like water, flowing around obstacles rather than crashing against them. You develop what the Stoics called ataraxia, a state of serene confidence that comes from knowing you can handle whatever comes next. Not because you're special or invincible, but because you've aligned yourself with the fundamental nature of reality itself. Therefore, the next time change knocks on your door, whether it's a job loss, a relationship shift, or simply the passage of time, remember Marcus Aurelius meeting each day with the same weapons. Remember that everything good came from change. Remember that your fear of change is often worse than the change itself. Embrace the unknown not because it's comfortable, but because it's honest. This is how Stoics transform life's inevitable changes from sources of anxiety into opportunities for growth. 2. Stop sweating the small stuff. Focus on what matters. The barista spelled your name wrong on your coffee cup. Your neighbor's dog barked during your Zoom call. Someone cut you off in traffic on the Brooklyn Bridge. The grocery store was out of your favorite brand of yogurt. Your coworker used Comic Sans in their presentation. By noon, you're exhausted, irritated, and wondering why everything seems to be going wrong. But here's the truth that Marcus Aurelius discovered while running the Roman Empire. You're not tired because life is hard. You're tired because you're giving small things more attention than they deserve. Marcus Aurelius, managing wars, plagues, and the fate of millions, wrote in his private journal, "You're better off not giving small things more attention than they're worth." This wasn't feel-good advice from someone living in luxury. This was survival wisdom from a man who understood that our mental and emotional energy is finite. Every ounce of attention you waste on trivialities is energy stolen from what actually matters in your life. We live in an age designed to make everything feel urgent and important. Your phone buzzes with breaking news about celebrity divorces. Social media algorithms feed you outrage about strangers' opinions. Email subjects scream urgent about tasks that could wait weeks. Marketing messages insist that missing this sale will somehow diminish your life. We're drowning in a sea of manufactured importance, and most of us don't even realize we're underwater. The modern world has weaponized the small stuff. It profits from your distraction, your outrage, your fear of missing out. Every app, every news outlet, every notification is engineered to make molehills look like mountains. They need your attention to survive, and they'll manufacture crises to get it. But the Stoics understood something crucial. Just because something demands your attention doesn't mean it deserves it. Let me paint you a scenario. Jennifer, a project manager in Seattle, used to start each day by checking her email, social media, and news apps. By 9 a.m., she'd already spent mental energy on her cousin's political rant, anxiety about a typo in yesterday's report, frustration about traffic updates, and anger about some controversy involving people she'd never meet. She'd arrive at work emotionally depleted before tackling anything that actually mattered. Sound familiar? Then Jennifer discovered the Stoic practice of asking one simple question: is this essential? Not, is this interesting? Or might this be useful someday? But is this essential? This question, straight from Marcus Aurelius, became her filter for everything. That group text debating where to have lunch next month? not essential. The 15 email chain about the office thermostat? Not essential. Her ex-boyfriend's Instagram story? Definitely not essential. The transformation was immediate. By ignoring the non-essential, Jennifer found she had abundant energy for what mattered. Her key work projects, quality time with her daughter, her evening jogs along the waterfront. She wasn't working harder. She was working smarter by not working on things that didn't matter. The small stuff didn't disappear. She just stopped giving it rent-free space in her mind. This Stoic principle extends far beyond daily annoyances. Think about how much mental real estate you've given to slights that the other person probably forgot within minutes. That snippy comment from a cashier last Tuesday? They've served hundreds of customers since then. That driver who honked at you? They couldn't pick you out of a lineup. Yet here you are, replaying these meaningless interactions, crafting perfect comebacks to conversations that are long over. The Stoics understood that attention is your most valuable currency. Unlike money, you can't earn more of it. Unlike time, you can't save it for later. You have a finite amount each day, and once it's spent, it's gone. When you waste it on trivialities, you're not just losing that attention. You're losing everything you could have created, experienced, or enjoyed with it instead. Marcus Aurelius ruled during the Antonine Plague, which killed millions. He could have obsessed over every minor administrative issue, every petty political squabble, every small slight from the Senate. Instead, he focused on what mattered: protecting the empire's borders, maintaining food supplies, providing justice. By ignoring the small stuff, he had the clarity and energy to handle the genuinely big stuff. But here's where modern life gets tricky. Sometimes the small stuff disguises itself as big stuff. That urgent email might feel important in the moment. That social media controversy might seem relevant to your values. That minor disagreement with your partner might feel like a relationship-defining moment. The Stoics had a solution for this too: perspective. When something feels urgent or important, zoom out. Will this matter in a week, a month, a year? On your deathbed, will you wish you'd spent more time perfecting that PowerPoint transition or arguing with strangers on the internet? This isn't about becoming apathetic or careless. It's about being strategic with your attention, investing it where it can actually make a difference. The practice is simple but not easy. Start by noticing when you're giving attention to something trivial. Don't judge yourself, just notice. Then ask, is this essential? Does this move me closer to who I want to be? If the answer is no, let it go. Not with force or frustration, but with the same ease you'd release a balloon into the sky. It's not yours to carry. As you master this practice, something remarkable happens. Life becomes less exhausting, not because fewer things happen, but because fewer things bother you. You develop what the Stoics called selective indifference, caring deeply about what matters while remaining unperturbed by what doesn't. You become like a skilled photographer, focusing on the subject while letting the background blur. The noise is still there. It just no longer dominates the picture. In essence, when you stop sweating the small stuff, you don't just feel better, you perform better. Your relationships improve because you're not wasting energy on petty grievances. Your work excels because you're focused on high-impact activities. Your peace of mind increases because you're not fighting battles that don't need to be fought. This is the Stoic secret. By doing less of what doesn't matter, you automatically do more of what does. 3. Why you shouldn't care about others' opinions. The comment appears under your LinkedIn post. Your carefully crafted thoughts about industry trends, dismissed with snark by someone whose profile picture is a cartoon avatar. Your heart rate spikes. Your face flushes. You start crafting a response, then delete it, then craft another. An hour later, you're still thinking about it, still defending yourself in imaginary arguments. Meanwhile, the commenter has probably forgotten you exist. This is the trap that Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the ancient world, understood all too well. We hand over our peace of mind to people who don't deserve a second of our thoughts. Marcus Aurelius developed a powerful mental exercise for dealing with criticism. When someone attacked him, and as emperor, he faced constant criticism, he would pause and examine the source. He would think about who this person was, what they valued, what they were addicted to, what they had accomplished. Not with malice, but with clear-eyed assessment. More often than not, he realized these were people whose approval he wouldn't want anyway. Their criticism was actually validation that he was on the right path. Consider the absurdity of our modern relationship with others' opinions. We live in an era where complete strangers can judge our lives through carefully curated social media posts. People who know nothing about our struggles, our growth, our daily reality feel entitled to comment on our choices. A person who's never run a business criticizes your startup. Someone who's never maintained a long-term relationship judges your marriage. An anonymous account with 3 followers declares your life choices invalid. And somehow, we let these verdicts affect us more than our own lived experience. The Stoics identified this as one of humanity's most illogical behaviors. Marcus Aurelius noted that we love ourselves more than other people, yet inexplicably, we value their opinions of us more than our own. Think about that contradiction. You know your intentions, your efforts, your growth. You know the battles you've fought that no one else sees. You know the progress you've made from where you started. Yet you'll let someone who knows none of this make you question your worth with a single dismissive comment. Take Michael, a software developer in Austin who launched a YouTube channel about coding. His first videos were rough, awkward on camera, basic editing, nervous energy. The comments were brutal. Cringe. Stick to your day job. Another wannabe influencer. He almost quit after the first week. Then he remembered the Stoic principle of examining the source. These critics, what had they created? What risks had they taken? Most had never posted a single video, never put themselves out there, never tried to help anyone learn anything. They were spectators criticizing the players from the safety of the stands. This realization transformed Michael's perspective. He kept creating, kept improving, focused on his own standards rather than anonymous opinions. 2 years later, his channel helps thousands of beginners learn to code. Those early critics, they're probably still leaving nasty comments on someone else's videos, having created nothing themselves. The modern attention economy has weaponized our ancient need for tribal approval. We evolved in small groups where others' opinions could mean survival or exile. But now we're exposed to the opinions of millions, most of whom we'll never meet, whose values we don't share, whose lives look nothing like ours. Our Stone Age brains haven't caught up to this reality. We're still treating every criticism as if it comes from a trusted tribe member whose judgment matters for our survival. But here's what the Stoics understood. Not all opinions are created equal. The opinion of someone you respect, who shares your values, who has achieved what you're striving for, that might be worth considering. The opinion of your bitter uncle who's never left his hometown, your jealous coworker who resents your promotion, the internet stranger who's projecting their own failures onto you. These opinions are worse than worthless. They're pollution for your mind. Marcus Aurelius faced this at the highest level. Senators plotted against him. Citizens blamed him for plagues beyond his control. Historians criticized his philosophical pursuits as unbefitting an emperor. If he had internalized every criticism, he would have been paralyzed. Instead, he developed an internal scorecard. He measured himself against his own values: wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation. External opinions became data points at best, not verdicts on his worth. This doesn't mean becoming arrogant or closed to feedback. The Stoics valued wisdom wherever it came from, but they distinguished between constructive feedback from credible sources and the noise of uninformed criticism. If a master craftsman critiques your work, listen carefully. If someone who's never held a tool mocks your creation, their opinion reveals nothing about your work and everything about their character. The practice starts with a simple recognition. Most people's opinions are based on incomplete information filtered through their own biases, insecurities, and limitations. That harsh review of your restaurant from someone who was having a bad day, that's about their day, not your food. That relative who says you're wasting your education by changing careers, that's about their fear of change, not your potential. That online mob angry about your success, that's about their frustration with their own lives, not your achievements. Furthermore, consider what seeking others' approval actually costs you. Every decision filtered through "what will they think" is a decision that moves you further from your authentic path. You end up living a life designed by committee, a lukewarm existence that pleases no one, least of all yourself. The Stoics called this slavery, not to a person, but to the ever-changing whims of public opinion. The alternative isn't isolation or indifference to others. It's what Epictetus called internal freedom, the ability to value your own judgment while remaining open to wisdom. You can listen to feedback without being controlled by it. You can consider criticism without being crushed by it. You can appreciate praise without depending on it. Your worth becomes an internal matter, not subject to the daily fluctuations of others' moods and opinions. Ultimately, caring too much about others' opinions is a form of disrespect to yourself. It says that random strangers understand your life better than you do. It suggests that your own assessment of your progress, your efforts, your growth matters less than the snap judgments of people who see only the surface. The Stoics rejected this absurdity. They understood that the only opinion that truly matters is that of the person who lives with all your decisions. You. For the futility of revenge, rise above hurt. Imagine this scenario. You've just received a scathing email from a coworker, one filled with accusations and personal attacks. Your first instinct is to fire back, to craft a response that cuts deeper than their words did. You want them to feel the hurt they've inflicted on you, to understand the damage they've caused. But here's the hard truth that the Stoics understood. Seeking revenge does not heal your wounds. It only deepens them. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king of Rome, faced betrayal and personal attacks regularly. He experienced coups and slander, and yet he didn't return hatred with hatred. Instead, he believed that the the best revenge is to not be like that. This powerful idea encapsulates the Stoic approach to dealing with wrongs. Rather than seeking to punish those who have hurt us, we should focus on maintaining our integrity and character. Revenge is a seductive trap. It promises satisfaction, a fleeting sense of justice, and the false belief that hurting someone else will somehow alleviate our pain. However, the reality is that vengeance only prolongs our suffering. When we seek to get even, we allow the actions of others to dictate our emotional state. We become slaves to their behavior, letting their negativity invade our thoughts and actions. Consider the story of Sarah, a talented graphic designer who worked for a startup. After pouring her heart into a project, she discovered that her boss had taken credit for her work during a crucial presentation. Furious and humiliated, Sarah fantasized about how she could sabotage her boss's next big pitch. She spent hours plotting her revenge, thinking about how satisfying it would be to expose her boss's deceit. But as she stewed in her anger, she realized something important. Her fixation on revenge was consuming her energy and focus, leaving her feeling drained and bitter. In that moment, Sarah remembered the teachings of Seneca, another prominent Stoic philosopher who stated, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." Instead of letting her anger dictate her actions, she decided to channel her energy into something productive. She focused on her next project, striving to excel and prove her worth through her work rather than through petty retaliation. This shift in perspective allowed Sarah to reclaim her power. Rather than being defined by her boss's dishonesty, she chose to rise above it. She understood that how she responded to the situation was far more important than the actions of others. By not succumbing to the desire for revenge, she was able to maintain her integrity and self-respect. The Stoics believed that our true power lies in our ability to control our responses, not in trying to control others. When someone wrongs us, it can be incredibly difficult not to react impulsively. However, the Stoic practice of pausing to reflect before responding can help us gain clarity. Instead of reacting out of anger, ask yourself, what would a wise person do in this situation? This question can provide the perspective needed to choose a more constructive response. Marcus Aurelius also emphasized the importance of understanding the nature of humanity. He recognized that people are flawed and often act out of ignorance or their own pain. Instead of taking their actions personally, he reminded himself that the things that upset you are not the things themselves, but your judgment about them. This recognition allows us to detach from the hurt and respond with compassion rather than vengeance. When we focus on revenge, we divert our energy from our goals and aspirations. Imagine if, instead of plotting how to get back at someone, you invested that energy into your personal growth or professional development. You could take a class, start a new project, or strengthen your relationships with those who support and uplift you. The time and mental space you save by letting go of the desire for revenge can be redirected toward positive outcomes. Moreover, revenge often leads to a cycle of negativity. When we attempt to retaliate, we can easily become entangled in a web of hostility. One act of revenge can lead to another, creating an endless loop of hurt and retaliation. The Stoics warned against this cycle, understanding that maintaining our moral integrity was far more important than seeking out fleeting moments of satisfaction. In contrast, choosing to rise above the hurt allows us to break this cycle. Instead of perpetuating negativity, we foster an environment of understanding and forgiveness. This doesn't mean we allow others to walk all over us or that we tolerate their hurtful behavior. It means we choose to respond with dignity and resilience, refusing to let their actions dictate our emotional state. Let's also consider the long-term consequences of revenge. When we retaliate, we often burn bridges and damage relationships that could be valuable in the future. In a professional context, seeking revenge against a colleague may lead to a toxic work environment, lost opportunities, and damaged reputations. The Stoics understood that our relationships with others are vital to our well-being and success, and they encouraged us to nurture these connections rather than destroy them through petty acts of revenge. Instead of focusing on retaliation, the Stoics advocated for forgiveness. This doesn't mean condoning harmful behavior. It means releasing the hold that anger and resentment have over us. Forgiveness frees us from the burden of carrying negative emotions and opens up space for healing and personal growth. It allows us to move forward without the weight of bitterness weighing us down. As we navigate the challenges of life, it's essential to remember that we have the power to choose our responses. When faced with betrayal or wrongdoing, we can choose to rise above the hurt, maintaining our integrity and character. By following the Stoic principles of self-control, perspective, and compassion, we can break the cycle of revenge and foster a more positive and fulfilling life. In conclusion, the next time you find yourself tempted to seek revenge, pause and reflect. Ask yourself if this response aligns with your values and who you want to be. Remember the wise words of Marcus Aurelius: "The best revenge is to not be like that." By choosing to rise above the hurt, you not only reclaim your power, but also pave the way for a more peaceful and meaningful life. 5. Transform your mornings. Take control of your day. The alarm hasn't even finished its first beep, and you're already reaching for your phone. Before your eyes fully focus, you're scrolling through emails, texts, and notifications. Within minutes, you've absorbed 17 different demands on your attention. Your boss needs that report revised. Your friend is upset about something. The news is catastrophic as always. You haven't even gotten out of bed, and you're already behind, already reactive, already stressed. This is how millions of Americans start their day, and it's exactly what Marcus Aurelius warned against when he wrote about not being jerked around like a puppet. The Stoics understood something fundamental about human psychology that we've forgotten in our hyperconnected age. How you start your day determines how you live your day. When you immediately check your messages, you're essentially handing over control of your mental state to everyone else's priorities, problems, and panic. You become what Epictetus called a slave to externals before you've even had your first cup of coffee. Consider what actually happens when you check your phone first thing. Your brain, still emerging from sleep's restorative state, gets flooded with cortisol spiking information. That email from your manager triggers your fight or flight response. That news alert activates your amygdala. That social media notification releases dopamine, starting the addiction cycle before breakfast. You're literally programming your brain for reactivity, anxiety, and distraction from the moment you wake up. Let me share the story of David, a financial analyst in Boston. For years, his morning routine consisted of grabbing his phone before his feet hit the floor. By the time he reached the kitchen, he'd already responded to 3 urgent emails, worried about 4 different work crises, and felt behind on his entire day. He arrived at the office frazzled, reactive, and exhausted, and it was only 8 a.m. His days felt like one long game of catch-up, always responding to others' demands, never proactive about his own priorities. Then David discovered the Stoic principle of morning control. Instead of reaching for his phone, he began his day with 5 minutes of reflection. He'd think about his priorities for the day, not what others wanted from him, but what he wanted to accomplish. He'd remind himself of his values, his larger goals, his reasons for working so hard. Only after this mental preparation would he engage with the outside world. The transformation was immediate and profound. Marcus Aurelius, despite ruling an empire, understood the importance of starting the day with intention rather than reaction. In his meditations, he would write reflections each morning, preparing his mind for the challenges ahead. He didn't start by asking, "What does everyone want from me today?" but rather, "How can I live according to my principles today?" This shift from external to internal focus is the key to Stoic morning practice. The modern world has made this practice more crucial than ever. We live in an attention economy where every app, every platform, every communication channel is designed to capture and monetize your focus. When you check your phone first thing, you're not just reading messages. You're entering a carefully engineered system designed to keep you scrolling, clicking, responding. You're starting your day in someone else's casino, playing by their rules, with the odds stacked against your peace of mind. But here's what the Stoics knew. You don't have to play this game. You have the power to create what they called a citadel of the mind, a protected space where external demands cannot immediately intrude. This doesn't mean becoming a hermit or ignoring your responsibilities. It means choosing when and how you engage with them, rather than letting them ambush you at your most vulnerable moment. The practice is simple but powerful. Before you check any device, before you let the outside world in, take time for yourself. This might be 5 minutes of meditation, a short walk, journaling, or simply sitting with your coffee in silence. The specific activity matters less than the principle. You're establishing sovereignty over your own mind before anyone else can claim it. This isn't just feel-good advice, it's strategically smart. When you start your day proactively rather than reactively, you make better decisions. You respond to challenges from a place of calm strength rather than frantic anxiety. You prioritize what's truly important rather than just what's loudly urgent. You approach your work with intention rather than desperation. In essence, you lead your day rather than being led by it. The resistance to this practice is telling. But what if something urgent happened overnight? People ask. Here's the hard truth. Unless you're an emergency room doctor or first responder, it can wait 30 minutes. That urgent email sent at 11 p.m., the sender doesn't actually expect an immediate response. They're just clearing their own inbox. That breaking news? It'll still be breaking after you've centered yourself. That social media notification? It's designed to create false urgency where none exists. Marcus Aurelius faced actual emergencies, invasions, plagues, political crises. Yet he still protected his mornings for reflection and preparation. If the ruler of the known world could delay checking his messages, surely we can resist checking Instagram before breakfast. He understood that responding from a place of calm preparation made him more effective, not less. The transformation this creates extends far beyond the morning. When you start your day in control, that sense of agency carries forward. You're less likely to be derailed by minor frustrations. You're more focused on your important work. You're more present in your interactions. You've set the tone for a day of purposeful action rather than reactive scrambling. Therefore, tomorrow morning, try the Stoic experiment. Put your phone in another room tonight. When you wake, resist the urge to immediately reconnect. Instead, take just 10 minutes for yourself. Breathe, reflect, set your intentions. Then, when you do engage with the world, you'll do so from a position of strength rather than vulnerability. You'll discover what the Stoics knew. The quality of your morning determines the quality of your day, and the quality of your days determines the quality of your life. 6. Setting boundaries, the cost of being too reachable. Your phone buzzes during dinner with your family. It's your boss with just a quick question. You answer, and 30 minutes later, you're still typing responses while your kids eat in silence. Later that evening, a colleague texts about tomorrow's presentation. At 10 p.m., a client emails expecting an immediate response. By midnight, you've essentially worked a second shift from your couch, unpaid and unappreciated. This is the modern trap of infinite accessibility, and it's destroying our peace of mind in ways the Stoics predicted centuries ago. There's a powerful story about Napoleon that illustrates ancient wisdom about boundaries. The French emperor, managing wars across multiple continents, refused to read his mail until 3 weeks after it arrived. His reasoning was brilliantly simple. Most problems resolve themselves if you don't insert yourself immediately. The truly important matters would still be important in 3 weeks. This wasn't negligence. It was strategic wisdom about the cost of constant availability. The Stoics understood what we've forgotten in our age of instant communication. Being reachable is not the same as being productive. In fact, constant reachability is the enemy of deep work, clear thinking, and peace of mind. When you're always available, you're never fully present. You're perpetually interrupted, constantly context switching, forever living in a state of partial attention. This isn't just inefficient, it's a recipe for misery. Consider the case of Maria, a marketing director in Los Angeles. She prided herself on being always on, responding to emails within minutes, available for calls at all hours. Her phone was her constant companion during meals, workouts, even vacations. She thought this made her indispensable. Instead, it made her exhausted. Her work quality suffered because she never had uninterrupted time to think deeply. Her relationships deteriorated because she was physically present but mentally elsewhere. Her health declined from chronic stress and poor sleep. The turning point came when Maria discovered the Stoic concept of boundaries as self-respect. Seneca wrote extensively about the importance of guarding one's time and attention. He understood that when you make yourself infinitely available, you're not being generous, you're being foolish. You're treating your time, your most precious resource, as worthless. You're telling the world that their minor conveniences matter more than your major priorities. Modern technology has weaponized our availability. Every app, every platform, every device is designed to keep you reachable, responsive, reactive. The notification systems aren't neutral. They're engineered to create anxiety when you don't respond immediately. That red badge, that unread count, that seen indicator, these are psychological triggers designed to override your better judgment. We've created a culture where a 2-hour response time to a text message is considered rude, where being offline is seen as unprofessional. But here's what the Stoics knew. The most important work requires deep, uninterrupted focus. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his profound meditations while constantly checking for new scrolls. Seneca didn't develop his philosophical insights while responding to every knock at his door. They understood that wisdom, creativity, and meaningful work emerge from protected space and time. When you're always reachable, you're never truly working. You're just responding. The cost of constant availability extends beyond productivity. It fundamentally alters your relationship with yourself. When you can't sit quietly without checking your phone, when you feel anxious if you're disconnected for an hour, when you sleep with your device within arm's reach just in case, you've become enslaved to external stimuli. The Stoics called this the opposite of freedom. True freedom, they argued, comes from the ability to be alone with your thoughts, to work without interruption, to be unavailable without anxiety. Setting boundaries isn't about being difficult or uncooperative. It's about being strategic with your attention. When you establish clear windows for communication and stick to them, something remarkable happens. People adjust. That urgent request that would have interrupted your evening suddenly can wait until morning. That colleague who would have texted you 5 times learns to consolidate their questions. The sky doesn't fall when you don't respond immediately. In fact, your responses become more thoughtful and valuable when you're not rushing to reply. The practice starts with small steps. Turn off non-essential notifications. Set specific times for checking messages rather than monitoring them continuously. Create phone-free zones in your home. Establish office hours, even if you work from home. Use auto-responses that set clear expectations about when you'll reply. These aren't acts of rudeness, they're acts of self-preservation and professional excellence. Remember, every interruption carries a hidden cost. Research shows it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully refocus after a distraction. So that quick question that took 2 minutes to answer actually cost you 25 minutes of productive time. Multiply that by the dozens of interruptions in a typical day, and you understand why you feel busy but unproductive, exhausted but unaccomplished. The Stoics also understood that boundaries protect not just your work, but your relationships. When you're constantly available to everyone, you're truly present for no one. Your partner gets half your attention while you monitor your phone. Your children compete with notifications for your focus. Your friends receive distracted versions of you. By setting clear boundaries around your availability, you create space for genuine presence and connection. This doesn't mean becoming a digital hermit. The Stoics valued community and responsibility, but they distinguished between true obligations and manufactured urgency. Ask yourself, is this genuinely time-sensitive? Or has technology just conditioned me to treat everything as urgent? Will waiting 2 hours to respond cause actual harm? Or just mild inconvenience? Am I being responsive out of necessity or out of anxiety? Ultimately, the Stoic message about boundaries is one of empowerment. You have the right to protect your time, your attention, your peace of mind. You have the power to choose when and how you engage with the demands of others. You can be reliable without being constantly reachable, professional without being perpetually on call. As Seneca reminds us, every new thing excites the mind, but a mind that seeks truth turns from the new and superficial to the old and profound. In our age of infinite reachability, the profound act is simply being unreachable and discovering the freedom that comes with it. 7. Letting go. Stop taking everything so personally. Imagine this. You're sitting in a cafe in New York City, enjoying your coffee while scrolling through social media. You come across a post from a friend that seems to take a jab at you, perhaps a vague status about fake friends, or a shared meme that cuts just a little too close to home. Suddenly, your heart races, and a wave of anger washes over you. You start crafting a response in your mind, feeling the urge to confront them. But in that moment, it's essential to pause and remember the Stoic wisdom. Not everything is about you. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most revered Stoic philosophers, often reflected on the nature of human behavior. He understood that people act based on their perspectives, experiences, and internal struggles. In his Meditations, he wrote, "When someone does you wrong, it is because they are acting according to their own judgment, not yours." This simple yet profound insight reminds us that most of the time, people's actions are reflections of their inner conflicts and not personal assaults on our character. The reality is that we live in a world filled with noise and distractions. With social media amplifying every opinion and emotion, it's easy to internalize others' words and actions as reflections of our worth. This tendency can lead to chronic overthinking, resentment, and emotional turmoil. As the Stoics taught, we must learn to differentiate between what is in our control and what is not. The only thing we truly control is our response to others. Let's look at the story of Emma, a young professional in San Francisco. Emma was known for her vibrant personality and close friendships. However, she often found herself feeling hurt and offended by others' comments. One day, after a friend made a seemingly innocuous joke about her choice of career, Emma spiraled into self-doubt. She spent hours replaying the moment in her mind, questioning her decisions and feeling isolated. Eventually, she decided to confront her friend, fueled by a mix of anger and insecurity. However, after talking to her friend, Emma realized that the joke had nothing to do with her worth or abilities. It was a light-hearted comment that her friend made without considering how it might affect Emma. This realization shifted Emma's perspective. She understood that not everything said to her was an attack. Rather, it was often a reflection of the speaker's own issues or humor. Emma began to practice the Stoic technique of reframing her thoughts. Instead of taking things personally, she learned to ask herself, "Is this about me, or is it about them?" This practice of reframing is powerful. Rather than allowing yourself to be affected by someone's careless words, you can step back and consider the broader context. Most people are navigating their own challenges, insecurities, and frustrations. When someone lashes out or makes a snide remark, it often reveals more about them than about you. By recognizing this, you protect your emotional well-being and maintain your sense of self-worth. The Stoics also emphasized the importance of perspective. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This wisdom encourages us to focus on our thoughts and reactions, rather than external circumstances. When you find yourself feeling hurt by someone else's words, take a moment to reflect on your thoughts. Ask yourself, why does this bother me? What does it reveal about my own insecurities? This self-inquiry can help you identify areas where you might need personal growth. Are you overly sensitive to criticism? Do you seek validation from others? By understanding the root of your reactions, you can work towards building a more resilient mindset. Another essential Stoic practice is to remind ourselves that the opinions of others do not define us. In a world obsessed with likes, shares, and comments, it's easy to conflate our self-worth with external validation. However, the Stoics believed in the concept of internal scorecards. Instead of measuring your value based on others' opinions, focus on your own principles and values. Let's take the example of Jake, a freelance writer in Chicago. Jake often felt disheartened by rejections from editors and negative comments on his articles. Initially, he took these critiques personally, questioning his talent and worth as a writer. But after studying Stoic philosophy, he learned to separate his identity from his work. He began to view feedback as constructive rather than personal. Instead of assessing his value based on acceptance or rejection, he focused on the quality of his writing and his commitment to improvement. This shift in mindset transformed Jake's approach. He no longer felt devastated by criticism. Instead, he saw it as an opportunity for growth. He embraced the Stoic idea that the obstacle is the way. Every challenge became a chance to refine his craft and develop resilience. Practicing letting go also involves recognizing that our emotional responses are often tied to our expectations. When we expect others to behave a certain way or to validate our choices, we set ourselves up for disappointment. The Stoics taught the importance of accepting reality as it is, rather than how we wish it to be. By releasing these expectations, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. For example, if you have a close friend who consistently forgets your birthday or dismisses your achievements, you might feel hurt. However, instead of internalizing their actions as a reflection of your worth, consider their behavior in the context of their life. Perhaps they're dealing with their own struggles, and their forgetfulness has nothing to do with you. By letting go of the expectation that they should fulfill a specific role in your life, you can protect your emotional well-being and focus on nurturing relationships that uplift you. Ultimately, letting go of taking things personally is a powerful act of self-care. It allows you to cultivate emotional resilience and foster healthier relationships. As you practice the Stoic principle, you'll find that you're less affected by others' words and actions. You'll become more centered, more confident, and more capable of navigating the challenges life throws your way. In conclusion, the journey of letting go begins with awareness. Notice when you're taking things personally and pause to reflect on the true source of your feelings. Embrace the Stoic practice of reframing your thoughts, focusing on your principles, and recognizing that others' actions often reveal more about them than about you. By applying these principles, you'll cultivate a sense of inner peace and resilience that will serve you well in all aspects of your life. 8. Finding self-worth within. Stop seeking external validation. You post a photo on Instagram. Within seconds, you're checking for likes. 5 minutes pass, only 12 likes. Your mood dips. You wonder if you chose the wrong filter, posted at the wrong time, or if people just don't care about your life. An hour later, you're still refreshing, still counting, still letting strangers determine your emotional state. This modern addiction to external validation would have horrified Epictetus, who taught that when you look outside yourself for approval, you have essentially handed over your life on a silver platter to others. The ancient Stoics identified this tendency as one of humanity's greatest sources of suffering. Epictetus, who rose from slavery to become one of philosophy's most influential teachers, understood the prison of external validation intimately. He declared, "When you've settled for needing others' approval, you've settled for slavery." These aren't metaphorical words from someone living in comfort. This is wisdom from a man who knew actual chains and discovered that mental slavery to others' opinions is far more binding. In our hyper-connected world, the opportunities for seeking validation have multiplied exponentially. It's not just social media likes anymore. It's LinkedIn endorsements, dating app matches, review ratings, follower counts, retweets, and countless other metrics designed to quantify our worth. We've created a society where your value can seemingly be measured in real time by strangers who know nothing about your journey, your struggles, or your growth. Consider Rachel, a talented photographer in Portland. She spent years honing her craft, developing a unique artistic vision. But when she started sharing her work online, she became obsessed with engagement metrics. A photo with fewer likes than usual would send her into a spiral of self-doubt. She started changing her style to match what got the most engagement, gradually abandoning her authentic vision for crowd-pleasing content. The irony? The more she chased validation, the less satisfied she felt with her work. Rachel's story illustrates a crucial Stoic insight. External validation is not just unreliable, it's actively harmful to authentic self-development. When you base your self-worth on others' approval, you're building your house on shifting sand. Public opinion changes with the wind. What's celebrated today is canceled tomorrow. The crowd that cheers for you can turn into a mob just as quickly. If your sense of self depends on this fickle approval, you'll live in constant anxiety. The Stoics proposed a radical alternative: develop what they called an internal citadel, an unshakable sense of self-worth based on your own values and principles. Marcus Aurelius, despite being the most powerful man in Rome, wrote extensively about this in his private journal. He reminded himself daily that his worth came not from his title, wealth, or others' praise, but from his commitment to wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation. This shift from external to internal validation isn't about becoming arrogant or dismissive of others. It's about recognizing a fundamental truth. You are the only person who lives with every decision you make, every effort you expend, every moment of growth you experience. Others see snapshots, you live the entire movie. How can their limited perspective possibly be more valid than your complete experience? The modern validation economy exploits our ancient tribal programming. We evolved in small groups where social approval meant survival. Being cast out meant death. But now we're seeking approval from thousands or millions of people we'll never meet, whose values we might not even share. We're using Stone Age emotional responses in a digital age context, and it's making us miserable. Take the example of Marcus, a startup founder in Miami. For years, he measured his worth by his company's valuation, media coverage, and industry recognition. When a competitor received major funding while his company struggled, Marcus fell into deep depression. He felt like a failure, despite having built a profitable business that employed dozens of people and served thousands of customers. It wasn't until he discovered Stoic philosophy that he realized the absurdity of letting venture capitalists and tech journalists determine his self-worth. Marcus began practicing what the Stoics call the discipline of desire, training himself to desire internal goods, character, wisdom, integrity, over external ones, fame, wealth, recognition. He started each day by reminding himself of his values and measuring his actions against these principles rather than against his competitors' achievements. The transformation was profound. His anxiety decreased, his decision-making improved, and ironically, his business thrived once he stopped desperately chasing external validation. The practice of finding self-worth within requires constant vigilance in our validation-obsessed culture. Every platform, every interaction, every achievement presents an opportunity to fall back into the trap of external approval seeking. The key is to develop what Epictetus called philosophical discipline, the daily practice of returning to your internal scorecard. This means asking yourself different questions. Instead of, "What will they think?" ask, "Is this aligned with my values?" Instead of, "How many people like this?" ask, "Am I proud of the effort I put in?" Instead of, "Am I successful by their standards?" ask, "Am I growing by my own measures?" These shifts might seem simple, but they're revolutionary in their impact. The Stoics also understood that seeking external validation makes you manipulable. When others know you crave their approval, they can control you with praise or criticism. You become a puppet, dancing to whatever tune gets you the most applause. But when your worth comes from within, you become what Marcus Aurelius called like a rocky promontory against which waves constantly break, unmoved by the changing tides of public opinion. This internal foundation doesn't mean you ignore feedback or live in isolation. The Stoics valued community and learning from others, but they distinguished between considering others' perspectives and being enslaved by them. You can listen to constructive criticism without letting it define you. You can appreciate praise without depending on it. You can engage with others from a place of strength rather than neediness. Ultimately, the journey from external to internal validation is one of the most liberating paths you can take. It frees you from the exhausting performance of trying to please everyone. It releases you from the anxiety of constantly checking your scores. It allows you to pursue authentic goals rather than popular ones. Most importantly, it puts you back in control of your own life. As Epictetus taught, this is true freedom, not the ability to do whatever you want, but the ability to want what is truly valuable, your own growth, integrity, and inner peace. As we come to the end of our exploration of Stoic philosophy, it's essential to reflect on the transformative lessons we've uncovered. Stoicism offers invaluable wisdom for navigating the challenges of modern life, guiding us toward emotional resilience, clarity, and a deeper sense of purpose. Throughout this journey, we've learned the importance of embracing change. Change is an inevitable part of life, and rather than fearing it, we can choose to see it as an opportunity for growth. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that everything good arises from change. By shifting our perspective, we can approach life's uncertainties with confidence, knowing that we possess the tools to handle whatever comes our way. We've also examined the detrimental habit of sweating the small stuff. In a world filled with distractions and trivial irritations, the Stoics teach us to focus on what truly matters. By asking ourselves whether an issue is essential, we can conserve our energy and direct it toward meaningful pursuits. This practice empowers us to live intentionally, rather than being dragged down by inconsequential concerns. The discussion on revenge highlighted the futility of seeking to retaliate against those who wrong us. Stoicism encourages us to rise above hurt and maintain our integrity. By choosing not to engage in cycles of retaliation, we free ourselves from the emotional burdens that come with seeking revenge. This choice leads to greater peace of mind and allows us to focus on our growth and well-being. One of the most powerful lessons we've learned is the importance of establishing boundaries and reclaiming our time. In a culture that demands constant availability, we must prioritize our mental health by limiting distractions and setting clear boundaries. By doing this, we create the space needed for deep work, reflection, and meaningful connections with others. As we navigate our daily lives, the Stoic principle of letting go of external validation remains critical. Our self-worth should not hinge on the opinions of others. Instead, we must cultivate an internal sense of value based on our principles and actions. When we look inward for our self-worth, we become resilient to external criticism and distractions. Now, as you embark on your own journey of Stoicism, remember that this philosophy is not just theoretical. It's a practice that requires daily commitment. Start each day with intention. Reflect on your values and set your priorities. When faced with challenges, remind yourself of the Stoic teachings that resonate with you. Engage with the wisdom of Stoic philosophers through their writings. Consider joining communities or discussions that allow you to share your experiences and insights. The exchange of ideas can deepen your understanding and reinforce your commitment to living a Stoic life. In conclusion, embracing Stoicism can lead to a more fulfilling and meaningful existence. By focusing on what we can control, letting go of what we cannot, and nurturing our self-worth from within, we can cultivate a sense of peace and purpose. Your journey toward a better life starts now. So, if you found value in these teachings, please take a moment to subscribe to the Stoic Vivu channel. Like this video and share it with friends or family who might benefit from Stoic wisdom. Together, let's spread these powerful principles and empower others to lead lives filled with resilience and purpose. Embrace these teachings and apply them as you navigate the complexities of modern life. Remember, the true power of Stoicism lies in your ability to respond to life's challenges with grace, resilience, and wisdom.